Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for standing by for Viomi Technology Company Limited's earnings conference call for the third quarter of 2020. At this time, all participants are in listen-only mode. Today's conference call is being recorded. I would now like to turn the call over to your host, Ms. Cecilia Lee, the Senior IR Manager of the company. Please go ahead, Cecilia.
Thank you, operator. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Viomi Technology Company Limited earnings conference call for the third quarter 2020. As a reminder, this conference is being recorded. The company's financial and operating results were issued in a press release earlier today and are posted online. You can download the earnings press release and sign up for the company's email distribution list by visiting the IR section of the company's website at ir.viomi.com. Participating in today's call are Mr. Xiaoping Chen, the founder chairman of the board of directors and chief executive officer, and Mr. Sheng Zhang, the chief financial officer. The company's management will begin with prepared remarks, and the call will conclude with a Q&A session. Before we continue, please note today's discussion will contain forward-looking statements made under the safe harbor provisions of the U.S. Private Securities Litigation Reform Act of 1995. Forward-looking statements involve inherent risks and uncertainties. As such, the company's actual results may be materially different from the views expressed today. Further information regarding these and other risks and uncertainties is included in the company's annual report on Form 20-F and other filings filed with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. The company doesn't assume any obligation to update any forward-looking statements except as required by law. Please also note that Viomi's earnings press release and this conference call include discussions of unaudited GAAP financial information as well as unaudited non-GAAP financial measures. Viomi's press release contains a reconciliation of the unaudited non-GAAP measures to the unaudited most directly comparable GAAP measures. Now I will now turn the call over to Viomi's founder and CEO, Mr. Xiaoping Chen. Mr. Chen will deliver his remarks in Chinese, followed immediately by English translation. Mr. Chen, please go ahead.
大家好，我是陈小平，感谢大家来参加我们2020年第三季度的电话业绩会。随着疫情后整体行业的实质性的复苏，那么以及消费需求的反弹，我们在第三季度继续保持了强劲的增长势头，实现了39%的同比增长。销售收入达到14.9亿人民币，再次超越了我们此前的预期。那么过去2年多，我们对 5G IoT 进行了战略性的前瞻性的研发，初步构建了在家庭场景下全屋互联的 5G IoT 的技术架构、协议以及算法体系，包括传感技术、AI 算法、智能硬件终端等。在这个体系下，我们今年加速推出了 5G IoT 的战略产品发布和服务。5月份，我们发布了21 Face 互动智慧屏Home SaaS 私有云的服务，完成了对 IoT at Home 的全屋场景的跨屏的全屋布局。在10月份的 5G IoT 的战略新品发布会上，我们又推出了具备行业领先规格的芯片模组、CPE 设备、C-Link 路由器以及 HomePad 超级开关，进一步的提升了 5G IoT 的在全屋智能的连接能力。我们相信，在随着 5G 技术的普及和应用， 5G IoT 战略将会让我们持续的引领这个快速发展的这么一个行业。此外，我们也在不断的优化 5G IoT 产品在家庭场景下的增值业务和内容应用。在我们战略新品发布会上，我们宣布对21 Face 5G IoT 大屏冰箱做了更多的升级，并拓展了内容合作。我们此前已经和酷狗音乐、爱奇艺、喜马拉雅、豆果美食等多个第三方娱乐媒体平台达成合作。我们近期又与中国知名的短视频社交平台抖音达成了合作协议。同时，我们利用家庭消费场景，通过大屏操作系统的整合，提升自有电商平台云米商城。我们的大屏冰箱支持 IoT 的操作界面，提供影音娱乐、购物、广告、社交媒体应用等等，并且不断的提高了我们增长的用户的使用率、用户的粘性和数据的活跃度。在未来，我们积极的探索和社区团购、生鲜到家等服务的应用的合作，紧跟消费趋势和新的习惯，寻找更贴合厨房大屏场景的互联网内容应用，为用户提供多样化的增值服务和升级体验。我们在疫情以来也抓住了市场对健康清洁类产品的消费需求，挖掘云米自有品牌的净水器和扫地机器人的增长机会。在净水器方面， 我们在5月份推出一系列大重量的下一代的净水器的新品，随后在9月份发布了高端净水器的子品牌全仙，并发布旗下的首款子母双 RO 澎湃纯净水的净水器 Super 系列，为用户提供高品质的饮用水和多样化的家庭水解决方案。我们还加快了对自有品牌扫地机器人的发展，近期推出了自动集成扫拖一体的阿尔法系列，以及一系列的激光导航、视觉导航等类别的扫地机器人。这2个品类的销售在包括双11在内的几个月里表现非常强劲，获得了市场的一致好评，取得了显著的销售增长，并且成为我们接下来的重要的增长点。我们也认为这些产品能够进入到我们刚刚起步但发展迅速的出口市场，凭借我们已有的丰富经验和专业以及良好的供应链资源，我们已经在内部适当的调配资源，并招揽新进人才来确保这些项目的成功。我们坚持在核心品类上取得创新的突破，比如我们新推出了看得见水中污渍的智幕系洗衣机，可以监测水中的污渍，感知衣物的浊度，并匹配相应的水位，以及 AI 新风洗烘一体机，通过新风的内外循环缩短50%以上的烘干时间。这些颠覆性的创新技术和专利帮助我们突破传统机型造成的用户痛点，并进一步的提升用户的体验。我们也在持续的深化并拓宽我们的销售渠道。一直以来，我们专注于独立特许经营的Viomi体验店作为线下渠道。随着品牌知名度的不断提升，我们在大幅增加销售网点规模，特别是与京东、天猫这类主要电商的下沉店的合作。我们也在拓展和知名的零售企业的合作，比如我们此前与湖南友谊阿波罗商业股份有限公司签署了战略合作协议，最近在该战略框架下开设了第1家Viomi的体验店，在湖南长沙推广我们的 IoT 产品和理念。回顾上市以后的2年，我们实现了翻倍的收入增长，从2018年的25亿多人民币增长到了预计今年接近60亿人民币的销售收入，成功的拓展了多样化的产品需求，极大的深化了销售渠道，并进行专利布局，将Viomi定位为一个基于 5G IoT 全屋互联、高度差异化的消费类高科技品牌，同时保持健康的盈利。接下来我们继续执行我们的核心 5G IoT 战略，聚焦资源来发展核心品类，做减法，优化产品 SKU， 全力的实现我们强劲和高质量的增长，巩固我们在下一代产品、技术和应用领域的行业领先地位，为我们所有的消费者和股东将 5G IoT 的家变成现实。好，谢谢大家。
Thank you, Xiaoping. This is Shun, Viomi CFO. I'll quickly translate Mr. Chen's remarks before discussing our financial performance for the third quarter of 2020. Hello everyone, thank you for joining our earnings conference call for the third quarter of 2020. Under the backdrop of a meaningful industry recovery and rebounding consumer demand in the post-pandemic landscape, we continued our strong growth momentum in the third quarter, with net revenues increasing by 39% year over year to around 1.49 billion RMB, exceeding our previous guidance once again. Over the past 2 years, as part of our 5G IoT strategy, we have been developing a 5G IoT technology, protocol, and algorithm framework for the home environment, including sensor technology, AI algorithms, and smart hardware. In 2020, we accelerated the introduction of our strategic 5G IoT products and services under this framework. In May, amongst many strategic products and services, we introduced our 21-face interactive smart screen TV and home SaaS concept, which marked the comprehensive implementation of IoT at home across all home scenarios and screens. Following this, at our recent product launch event in October, we launched state-of-the-art IoT chip modules, CPE or customer premise equipment, router products, and our HomePad screen-based control interface, further strengthening 5G IoT smart connection capabilities for the home environment. We are fully confident that the increasing penetration and adaptation of 5G technology, our 5G IoT focused strategy will help us maintain a leadership position in this rapidly evolving industry. To this point, we continue to expand our value-added businesses and content applications. At our recent 5G IoT product launch event, we also announced additional enhancements to our line of 21-face large-screen refrigerators, and further expanded related content partnerships. Following our previous cooperation with various entertainment and media platforms, including Kugou Music, online video platform iQIYI, audio sharing platform Himalaya FM, and recipe sharing app Dougou. We also recently reached a cooperation agreement with Douyin, China's popular short video social media platform. We have also made efforts to integrate and leverage our own e-commerce platform, Viomi Shangcheng, through our large-screen operating system to capitalize on the home consumption scenarios. Our large screens enable our IoT operating interface consisting of entertainment, shopping, advertising, and social media applications to create ever-increasing levels of usage, stickiness, and data generation. Going forward, we'll continue to explore even more IoT content offerings and partnerships in relation to our large-screen products, such as community group purchasing and grocery delivery services, allowing us to cater to the dynamic, ever-changing consumption and user behavioral trends, while providing more value-added services and enhanced experiences. In light of greater consumer emphasis on cleanliness in the post-pandemic era, we have ramped up efforts to capture opportunities in our Viomi branded water purifiers and sweeper robots. In terms of water purifiers, following our May introduction of new series of large flux next generation water purifiers, in September we launched a high-end water purifier sub-brand, Quanxin, and its first series of double reverse osmosis water purifiers called Super, demonstrating our commitment to establishing a professional brand and providing high-quality drinking water as well as diversified home water solutions. We have also expedited the development of our own sweeper robot business with the recent introduction of automatic dust disposal sweeper robot Alpha, as well as our series of laser-navigated and visual-navigated sweeper robots. These two product categories have been extremely well received by the market and delivered significant sales growth in recent months, including across the Double 11 sales season. And we expect them to be key pillars of our growth in the years ahead. We also expect these categories to allow us to better tap into our nascent but rapidly growing export markets. Leveraging upon our extensive existing experience, know-how, and supply chain resources, we have also been making the appropriate internal resource allocations and new personnel hires to ensure the success of these projects. Moreover, we continue to make innovative technology breakthroughs across our core product categories. For example, our new series of premium iBot washing machines is able to assess water quality and cleanliness to suggest optimal load settings. And our next generation AI new wind washer dryer product is able to help users shorten drying time by over 50% through state-of-the-art air circulation technology. These revolutionary technologies and related patents will continue to help us resolve user pain points caused by traditional models, further improving the user experience. We have also continued to deepen and broaden our sales channel presence. Historically, we have focused on standalone franchise Viomi experience stores for our offline presence. As we continue to increase our brand penetration and recognition, we have initiated plans to greatly increase our overall points of sales, particularly through cooperation with various O2O outlets of major e-commerce retailers such as JD and Tmall. We are also continuing discussions in relation to additional partnerships with retail leaders. For example, we recently established the first Viomi experience store as part of our strategic cooperation with Hunan Friendship and Apollo Commercial Co. Limited to promote our IoT products and concepts in Hunan province. Looking back at the 2 years since our IPO, we have more than doubled our revenues, reaching close to 6 billion RMB for this year from just over 2.5 billion RMB in 2018. We have also successfully expanded into numerous diverse product lines, significantly expanded our sales channel presence, and further enriched our patent portfolio, firmly establishing Viomi as a highly differentiated 5G IoT consumer technology brand, all while maintaining healthy levels of profitability. Looking ahead, we will continue to execute our core 5G IoT strategy, focusing resources on core categories while streamlining and optimizing our product lines and SKUs. We are fully devoted and committed to delivering strong, high-quality growth and cementing ourselves as an industry leader in the next generation of products, technologies, and applications. Our goal is to make the 5G IoT home a reality for the benefit of all our consumers and stakeholders. That concludes our founder's comments. Now let's turn to the detailed financial review of our third quarter results, as well as the outlook for the fourth quarter and full year of 2020. As Xiaoping discussed, net revenues were 1.49 billion RMB, an increase of 39% compared to the same period of last year, once again demonstrating the strength of our diversified business mix as the industry began to recover from the impact of COVID-19. Revenues from our Viomi part of the business increased by 46.5% to 861.9 million RMB for the third quarter of 2020, representing around 58% of our total revenues for the quarter. Revenues from IoT at home portfolio increased by 72.5% to 1.06 billion RMB from 614.8 million RMB for the third quarter of 2019, primarily due to the continued successful rollout of certain new product categories, in particular sweeper robots and air conditioning systems. Third quarter sales from high-margin Viomi branded sweeper robots, which we expect to be a key growth driver going forward, demonstrated multi-fold increases both on a year-over-year as well as quarter-over-quarter basis, and represented around 4-5% of overall revenues in the quarter. Revenues from our home water solutions part of the business decreased by 32.2% to 145.4 million RMB. The decline was primarily due to year-over-year decreases in average selling prices, particularly of Xiaomi branded water purifier products. This effect was partially mitigated by the successful introduction of and significant increase in sales of new series of Viomi branded water purifier products. Revenues from Viomi branded water purifier products nearly doubled in the third quarter and are on track to more than double in the fourth quarter, both on a year-over-year basis. Viomi branded water purifiers are expected to contribute over 20% of our total home water solutions business and over 3% of our total revenues in the second half of 2020, as compared to 10% and less than 2% respectively in the same period last year. Based on the factors above and taking into consideration a recent performance, despite the structural industry-wide shifts in water purifier retail prices that we have previously discussed extensively, we currently expect revenues for the fourth quarter from our home water solutions business to be at a similar level as the same period of last year. Revenues from consumables increased by 32.6% to 71.3 million RMB, primarily due to increased demand for our water purifier filter products. Revenues from small appliances and others increased by 12.6% to 209.9 million RMB. In terms of sales channel breakdown, as discussed above, around 58% of our total net revenues for the third quarter derived from our Viomi business, and approximately 42% was derived from our Xiaomi business. Within the Viomi business, approximately 70% was online, 20% was offline, and around 10% was exports. Within the online channels, JD was the largest contributor with just over 1/3 of our total online revenues from the Viomi business, in large part due to preparation for the Double 11 Shangxi sales festival, followed by Youpin with just over 20% contribution, and then Suning and Tmall. Gross profit increased by 6.8% to 254.3 million RMB, and gross margin was 17.1%, compared to 22.3% for the third quarter of 2019 and 14.3% for the second quarter of 2020. The year-over-year decrease in gross margin was primarily due to the shifts in the company's product and business mix, especially the introduction of Xiaomi branded sweeper robots and the pilot launch of our air conditioning systems, together with the structural industry-wide shifts in water purifier retail prices on a year-over-year basis. The quarter-over-quarter increase in gross margin was primarily due to a stabilization in average selling prices and margins across product lines, including water purifiers, together with more positive shifts in overall business and product mix towards higher gross margin products. In fact, apart from the water purifier ASP dynamic in the first half, gross margins across other individual product categories have been quite stable overall and have been demonstrating further uplift trends in the second half of 2020 as compared to last year. Gross profit, excluding the water purifiers business, actually increased by over 20% on a year-over-year basis in the third quarter. In terms of our gross margin outlook for the fourth quarter, while considering the major sales festivals such as Double 11 and Double 12, Shuangshi and Shuangshi, the negative impact on our overall gross margin should be somewhat mitigated this fourth quarter, partially due to our overall product portfolio streamlining and optimization initiatives. Hence, although we do expect gross margin in the fourth quarter to be slightly lower than the third quarter, the difference should not be as pronounced as compared to the second quarter. As we continue to phase out lower margin products and focus our efforts on generating greater revenue contributions from higher margin product categories and SKUs as a result of our overall premiumization theme, we do expect to experience a noticeable degree of gross margin uplift in the year ahead as compared to 2020. Total operating expenses increased by 33.8% to 226.4 million RMB, primarily due to the growth of our business, together with an increase in share-based compensation expenses, as we discussed during the last quarter. In more detail, R&D expenses increased by 22% to 52.7 million RMB. Selling and marketing expenses increased by 34.2% to 152.2 million RMB, and G&A expenses increased by 72.3% to 21.4 million RMB, primarily due to an increase in share-based compensation expenses. Total operating expenses as a percentage of revenues decreased to 15.2% from 15.8% for the third quarter of 2019. Excluding the impact of share-based compensation expenses, total operating expenses as a percentage of revenues was 13.7% as compared to 14.8% for the same period of last year. The decline in expense ratio was predominantly due to greater economies of scale and operating efficiencies. Net income attributable to ordinary shareholders of the company was 34.9 million RMB, and non-GAAP net income attributable to ordinary shareholders of the company was 57.4 million RMB. Additionally, our balance sheet remained healthy. As of September 30, 2020, we had cash and cash equivalents of 715.6 million RMB, restricted cash of 39.7 million RMB, short-term deposits and short-term investments of around 179.6 million RMB. Now let's turn to our outlook. For the fourth quarter of 2020, we currently expect net revenues to be between 1.9 billion RMB and 2.0 billion RMB, representing a year-over-year growth of approximately 9.1 to 14.8%. For the full year of 2020, we currently expect net revenues to be between 5.84 billion and 5.94 billion RMB, representing a year-over-year growth of approximately 25.6% to 27.7%. The above outlook is based on current market conditions and reflects the company's current and preliminary estimates of market and operating conditions and customer demand, which are all subject to change. In conclusion, based on current industry and business trends, we are cautiously optimistic that the coming year will present significant and attractive opportunities for us. Our core focus will remain on delivering robust top-line growth through new product launches, sales channels expansion, and market share gains. In addition, and importantly, we believe we have now turned a corner in terms of our gross margin trend and now expect to see meaningful gross margin uplift going forward as part of increasingly more positive shifts in our business and product mix. That concludes our prepared remarks. We will now open the call for Q&A. Operator, please go ahead.
Thank you. We will now begin the question and answer session. To ask a question, you may press star then one on your touch-tone phone. If you are using a speakerphone, please pick up your handset before pressing the keys. To withdraw your question, please press star then two. For the benefit of all participants on today's call, if you wish to ask your question to the company's management in Chinese, please immediately repeat your question in English. At this time, we will pause momentarily to assemble the roster. The first question today comes from Hanley Fan of Morgan Stanley. Please go ahead.
Hi, thank you, Ms. Chen and Mr. Jiang and Cecilia. This is Hanley from Morgan Stanley. Thanks for the briefing. I have two questions. The first question is on some recent business update, particularly by channel, so your offline channel and online channel post-COVID-19. What's your kind of offline channel recovery pace, as you can see in recent months? Also for the online channel, for some of the competitors, we can see some growth slowdown post-COVID-19. How do you observe your online channel sales growth in the last few months post-COVID? That's my first question. My second question is coming for the next year outlook, because Mr. Jiang mentioned some outlook for next year just now, but I just want to dig into that. For example, your top line, like kind of like any numerical projection for us for now. Also you mentioned your gross margin expansion, and I would also want to know more about kind of like net margin. How would the gross margin as well as your expenses would affect your kind of like bottom line margin, net margin? Those are my two questions. Thanks for management.
Thanks, Hanley. I'll take those two questions. First question on the sales channel trends and recovery and outlook. As discussed during the earnings call just now, sales recovery in general has been quite healthy. You would have seen we reported nearly 40% year-over-year growth, mainly on the back of new product launches, as well as a pickup in overall consumer activity and industry-wide sales channel recovery. In terms of channel breakdown, we have not seen major structural changes in terms of overall online channel traffic trends, which you may have seen in quite robust earnings results by the major e-commerce retailers in the last couple of weeks. Our core online channels remain a key sales channel for us for this year as well as the year ahead. Still very positive trends as well as feedback from the online channels. The offline channel performance has also definitely stabilized since the difficult times in the first half of this year. We have once again reinitiated our efforts towards growing our offline points of sales. Also as discussed just now, we have historically focused more on standalone franchise Viomi experience stores for our offline presence. As we continue to increase our brand presence and recognition, we have initiated plans to greatly increase our overall points of sales in the offline channels, particularly through cooperation with many of the O2O outlets of the major e-commerce retailers such as JD and Tmall. We're also continuing to discussions in relation to additional partnerships with retail leaders such as Hunan Friendship as well as Gourmet and Suning. In terms of our standalone stores, we'll continue to optimize our franchise structure as well as look to opportunistically open additional stores. I think most of the offline point of sales growth will be additional partnership with these O2O retailers as well as other retail leaders. We could potentially more than double our offline points of sales over the next year or so. The second question is a very good one. How's the outlook for 2021 and kind of the margin trends both on a gross as well as operating and net basis? Maybe I'll just break that down into a few parts. Firstly, on kind of our top line growth outlook. Generally, we remain very positive on 2021's outlook from a top line perspective, right? From several perspectives. One is obviously the so-called low base effect. Obviously, as everyone knows, the first half of 2020, especially the first quarter, was materially impacted by the effects of COVID-19. Assuming the situation in China remains stable, which there are obviously still uncertainties around, we do expect to experience a rebound effect on the year-on-year basis as a result of this low base effect. Secondly, new product launches. As discussed, since the middle of this year, we have made a significant push towards two new product categories that we believe will form very important growth pillars in 2021. Them being Viomi branded water purifiers and various small appliances products, particularly sweeper robots. leveraging upon our existing know-how, which we already have quite a large presence within these two categories through our relationship with Xiaomi, together with new investments in R&D as well as our own new personnel hires, we do believe that there is significant potential to significantly increase our presence in these very attractive and growing markets, particularly given consumer trends towards this cleanliness theme. So in a little bit more detail, for water purifiers, we initially introduced a series of large flux next generation water purifier products in the middle of this year. Subsequently, we recently launched our high-end water purifier sub-brand, Quanxian, and its first series of double reverse osmosis water purifier product called Super in September. So revenues from these Viomi branded products nearly doubled in the third quarter and more than doubled in the fourth quarter of this year on a year-over-year basis. So very good reception to these initial launches. Similarly, we've expedited the development of our own Viomi branded sweeper robot business. Several new products include the automatic dust collecting and disposal sweeper robot called Alpha, as well as our other laser navigated and visual navigated sweeper robots. So sales of our Viomi branded sweeper robots, again, have increased multiple fold on a year-over-year basis as well as a quarter-on-quarter basis. So these products have been extremely well received in line with general industry trends. So I think importantly, these products also entail very healthy gross margins above our overall blended gross margin, which should drive our overall margin uplift going forward as their contribution to overall revenue increases over time. All right. And the third point, and I'll just finish on this one, is our overall kind of product and portfolio optimization and premiumization theme, right? So since the middle of this year, we've very much been devoting efforts towards a comprehensive upgrade of our core product lines. This will encompass reducing our exposure or eliminating many of the earlier more volume-based, lower margin, lower ASP SKUs within our product portfolio and focusing our efforts towards more innovative and differentiated product development within our 5G and IoT framework. So as discussed just now, we've been devoting a lot of efforts towards continue to enhance the experience as well as content and entertainment partnerships and applications in our 21-face large screen refrigerator, as well as we recently launched kind of two next generation models of washing machines. And you should expect more of these kind of new, innovative, more premium focused kitchen as well as other white goods products as we progress through 2021. So to this end, we've guided total revenues for 2020 of close to 6 billion, which is around 25% year-over-year growth. So although it's still very early stage talking about 2021, taking into these considerations, I think you can think about 2021 year-over-year growth on at least similar levels, if not greater. Right, but of course, we will give more granular guidance as we proceed to have more clarity on next year's performance. And I think on a gross margin basis, we've guided that we do expect to experience a noticeable degree of gross margin expansion as we expect to experience more positive shifts in our product mix as compared to historically, and as we proceed to execute our product premiumization and streamlining strategy, right? So I think we increased our gross margins by around 280 basis points from the third quarter to the second quarter. I think this is a trend that we very much committed to continuing, and gross margins of close to or around 20% would be our initial target for 2021. I think net margins, there's a little bit more uncertainty around, given that we will obviously continue to invest in not only sales and marketing and sales personnel, but of course also R&D. But I think you should expect a certain degree of net margin uplift as compared to this year as well, given the kind of the impact of COVID-19 on the overall industry this year. Okay.
Okay, thank you. That's very detailed. Thank you so much.
The next question comes from Shudong Chen of CICC. Please go ahead.
小平总、盛总，恭喜那么强的业绩啊。I have two questions, and first one is, you just mentioned you have just started the exported business. Can you give me more colors about the overseas market, like your product go to the other countries, and what's the condition now? And my second question is, can you share more colors on the key drivers of the IoT product portfolio and the business focus for 2021? That's my two questions. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'll first touch upon the export business. So export business, we have just recently started to put a more strategic emphasis on. The initial markets that have had shown quite good initial success includes towards the Southeast Asian as well as Eastern European markets. The initial product categories that we've been selling to these markets are more towards the small appliances side of the business, and in particular our sweeper robot business. Right, so a large portion of our existing export markets consist of our existing Viomi branded sweeper robot products. Going forward, we have recently hired a new team just to focus on this export business. I think we will continue to leverage upon our success in the small appliances business, particularly for sweeper robots, increase our SKUs for these product categories for the export markets as well, and also look to expand our export range, for example, into water purifiers, as well as perhaps some other white good products as well. So your second question on IoT products. So I think this is how we look at our IoT portfolio and IoT strategy, right? So it forms this 5G and IoT concept forms a very important part of our brand and product differentiation. And over the past several years, we've been very much devoted to implementing our IoT 5G IoT strategic framework in terms of products, protocols, as well as algorithms. Right? You would have seen we've launched quite a number of 5G and IoT related products over the past several months. We feel that such newly launched products are a very important part of our brand identity and how consumers and customers and end consumers are able to differentiate our brand and products from peers. These products, of course, also build upon our comprehensive IoT at home platform, enhancing overall connectivity and also creating network effects and synergies with our existing IoT-enabled product portfolio within our concept of 全屋互联, right, IoT at home, which is our vision for the 5G IoT interconnected home scenario. So we will, leveraging upon this platform, we will then continue to strengthen and build upon such a platform, and then being able to entrench really our brand identity, and then getting a head start in being able to adapt to rapidly changing consumer trends and lifestyle demands.
我补充一下吧，就是关于这个第二个问题，就是我们第一步会把所有的带屏的产品变成5G IoT 的产品，这个是第一步会在明年年初就会做到的。第二步就是会在明年会把所有的产品根据这个技术推进的进度的话，未来会把所有的产品全部变成5G 产品，5G IoT 的产品，这是我们接下来的一个重点的战略方向来的，逐渐把它落地。
So our penetration into 5G IoT will consist of two key phases over the next year or so. So number one, for all our screen-based products, in particular the large screen refrigerator and interactive smart screen, all of these will transition into 5G IoT, next generation 5G IoT technology in the first half of next year. And then throughout the year, we'll gradually implement this technology across our entire product portfolio to achieve close to full penetration across our product portfolio by the end of next year.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The next question comes from Joy Wei of 86 Research. Please go ahead.
Thanks for taking my questions. I have a follow-up on your 5G IoT strategy. So you have been putting out a pretty comprehensive 5G IoT portfolio. So how do the management project the tipping point of 5G IoT? Will the 5G IoT market see a big growth in 2021? And so what level of investment is needed in order to achieve the leading position in this market in terms of like R&D, CapEx, marketing spending, etc.? And secondly, could management elaborate more on your internet service monetization opportunity, as we have seen that you made a lot of partnership with internet companies? Thank you.
Yep, thanks. I'll initially take these two questions, and Mr. Chen may have some supplements. So the first question on the tipping point of IoT, 5G IoT. So in terms of the tipping point, we believe the industry transformation will be an ongoing process, and we're currently still in the early adopter phase, right? However, we do expect consumer and market attention to tip extremely quickly. And I think a very good example of this is what we have recently seen in the electric vehicle market, right? Hence, this is why I've been devoting additional efforts towards marketing, especially, as well as product development and innovation in firmly establishing ourselves as a first mover in 5G IoT within this industry. So you can think of 5G IoT as a subset of the overall kind of home appliances industry at the moment, similar to how electric vehicles are a subset of the overall automobile industry. And I think it is a very defined trend that the penetration as well as the contribution of these next generation technologies will increase over time. And when the tipping point will be, we think will be in the near term, right? Which is why we've been making such brand positioning as well as R&D investment. So Mr. Chen will supplement a couple of points on this aspect before the next question.
对，明年的这个5G IoT 产品的一个引爆点，我觉得现在取决于有3个方面。第一个就是说，就是运营商现在在中国的3大运营商全面在推进千兆网，就让你的家庭是布满一个千兆的这么一个光纤入户，这是所有的中国电信、联通和这个移动都在推这个事情，这是一个非常重要的这么一个速度来的，推进速度非常的快，这是第一个关键点。第二个就是说产品化。你推出有更多的屏幕化的一些产品，更多的一些带有互联互通的一些产品应用的话，这个产品化的这个更丰富度的这么一些产品推出，那么这个用户接受度会变得更高。第三个就是当你有了更高带宽的1000兆甚至更高的带宽的光这个5G 信号覆盖之后的话，那你家里的这些互联的体验就可以承载更多的内容了，这是第3个。那么再回到第2个方面，就是这个关于大屏的一些未来的变现的机会。大屏的变现的机会会什么呢？就是我们现在在做一些尝试，比如说一些广告性的收益，比如说一些商品的销售， 还有一些这种和生鲜电商的一些导流，比如说他们需要做些现在中国比较火的就是这个买菜业务啊，就是几个平台都在推买菜业务，那这里面我们会给他提供一些这种用户的触达和他的一些这种变现的机会来的。所以这几个方面，包括我们现在和这种内容的平台也会给用户提供更多的一些体验，所以这当中都可以有些这种变现的机会。
Yep. So just to supplement on your first question on the tipping point, Mr. Chen added 3 points. So number one, as you may know, all of the telecom companies, especially the 3 large telecom companies in China, are very much rapidly rolling out the base stations. So 5G IoT coverage is definitely expanding at a rapid rate, right? So once the coverage it becomes very mainstream, then of course consumers will adopt these processes more. Second is, of course, the product adaptation and the product base. So to be able to leverage these technologies, we believe that you need screen-based products to be able to provide users with content and the best experience to capitalize on the 5G and IoT experience, which is why I think the 21-face refrigerator, our interactive smart screen TV, these are, as well as our HomePad, recently launched HomePad switch products, these will become very important enablers of 5G IoT in the home environment. And then third, of course, the 5G IoT also following on from the rollout, of course, the speed that this technology is able to offer, will be able to offer much more content and a better experience for consumers as opposed to previous generation technology, which of course will further accelerate adaptation, right, or adoption. So that was the first question. On your second question on monetization of some of these IoT products, so we believe there are many opportunities for monetization, right? So at the moment we are very much focused on enhancing the consumer experience and increasing penetration as well as overall installed base of our products to get consumer buy-in, especially the early adopters, on the capabilities as well as the experience of our products. So that's why we've as you would have seen over the past couple of quarters, we have significantly expanded upon the content that is available on our 5G IoT-enabled products, especially the 21-face refrigerator, right? So potential monetization avenues come from, for example, advertising or partnerships with various FMCG suppliers. And think of it as a focused media screen or an immediately actionable advertising screen at the center of a home environment. And of course, this follows on to e-commerce transactions or GMV take rates, for example, acting upon such advertising, or even through the data accumulated through the constant usage of these products, are able to provide, say, recommendations as well as opportunities for consumption for our consumers, right? And also in terms of these partnerships with the content providers going forward, we could even have, for example, a small take rate on some of their subscriptions or take rate from purchases from third-party platforms as well. So I think in the short term, we'll continue to devote most of our resources on enhancing the content applications as well as strengthening and enhancing the user experience while building out our installed base. And once the installed base is at a critical mass, then we believe that the monetization part is actually the easy part.
Thank you.
The next question comes from Vincent Yu of Needham & Company. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, management. Congrats on the good quarter. I have 3 questions. First one is to follow on the export business question. Any comments on the product pricing for the export business? Will there be any pricing premium versus the domestic markets? And do we have any revenue contribution expectation in 2021? Second question is about the Singles' Day sales. Can we share any comments on the preliminary results for our Singles' Day sales? Can we share any figure on growth rates? And did our newly released products participate in the sales, and how were they received? And also, for this promotion, what do we think its impact on our gross margin trend for the fourth quarter? And third question is on the product line. Actually, you mentioned a little bit, and I want to ask, see if we can get more details. Looking to 2021, is there any product category in particular we are most excited about? Thanks.
Yep, thank you. I'll take those questions. So the first one on the export market, as discussed, it represented around 10% of our Viomi branded business in the third quarter, which is around 4 to 5% of our overall revenues. It has been growing extremely quickly, but of course our overall business has also been growing extremely quickly. At the moment, it's focused mainly on smaller appliances, in particular sweeper robots. But as discussed, we're also looking to expand not only our regional coverage, but also the product categories that we will export going into next year, right? So we probably believe that at the current stage that the export business will grow faster than the domestic business for next year, and will likely be close to 10% of our overall revenues for next year. Right. In terms of pricing, I think currently it's predominantly sweeper robot products. We have a range of sweeper robot products as well for the mass market, as well as mid to high end as well. There is no significant or material difference in terms of the ASPs for the export versus the domestic business. Right. So for your second question on the Double 11 sales, as well as kind of the performance of some key product categories. So as discussed during the call, towards the latter part of the third quarter, and in particular the fourth quarter, we made a gradual shift towards greater emphasis on quality of growth, and are currently undergoing a product premiumization and SKU optimization phase, which is reflected in our fourth quarter guidance. So the Double 11 Sales Festival, I would say, was still successful, and very much focused on some of our core newly identified growth categories. Right. So some of our best performing products were some of the various newly launched products and key focus products, such as the water purifiers and sweeper robots, which, as discussed, experienced double, or in some cases multi-fold breakout growth in the second half of this year, as well as during the Double 11 Sales Festival. So in terms of how this affects overall margins, so as we've discussed already, gross margins are generally seasonally lower in the second and fourth quarters due to the sales festival. But given this year, I think the fourth quarter margins, while we currently do expect to be slightly lower than the third quarter, should definitely be higher than very much higher than the second quarter, right? Very much as a result of our overall SKU premiumization and product category streamlining initiatives. So heading into 2021, as also discussed, given these initiatives, we do expect, together with these kind of more positive shifts in product trend, for example, our own branded water purifiers and sweeper robots have northwards of 25% plus gross margins. They will continue to drive not only top line growth, but also drive a certain degree of margin expansion next year as well compared to this year. Right. And then lastly, in terms of new product categories that we are excited about, I think we've discussed this quite a bit and probably won't repeat, but obviously the main categories are Viomi branded water purifiers, sweeper robots, our 21-face refrigerators, as well as the constant rollout of some of these more innovative, differentiated, and mid to high-end products. For example, in our core categories, such as the washing machine and the new washer dryer that we launched in our product launch event in October.
Thank you very much.
As there are no further questions, now I'd like to turn the call back over to Cecilia Li for any closing remarks.
Thank you once again for joining us today. If you have further questions, please feel free to contact our Investor Relations Department through the contact information on our website or the PSNT Group, our Investor Relations consultant. Thank you all. Have a good one.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
This concludes the conference call. You may now disconnect your line. Thank you and have a nice day.